doctor is in.
Ricky, the doctor is literally in. We are here live today from Sarah Flint, and we are so excited to see each other in person and to talk about this really important topic. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So we have a very special guest here. We are live at the Sarah Flint store. I wish you could see the surroundings, and we'll do a little zoom around to show you what a beautiful place this is. But we have our lovely friend Mary here.
Excellent.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Mary Beach. I'm the CEO of Sarah Flint. Sarah founded her brand back in 2013 to bring luxury footwear and make it comfortable. She didn't think you should have to spend hundreds of dollars on luxury shoes and have them be really uncomfortable. And she's a woman designing shoes for women. Our shoes are direct to consumer, so they're not $800 to $1,000, and they're all 100% handcrafted in Italy. But from the very beginning, Sarah has really cared about the cause of breast cancer. I mean, we're a brand for women. We all have breasts. And she really felt like this was something we needed to give back to. And so we've done that for a number of years, but when we started our brand ambassador program, and Ricky is one of our brand ambassadors, we learned about your foundation. And we also had we have over almost 800 brand ambassadors.
Wow.
800 women.
Incredible.
And you can imagine a lot of them have stories of friends, family, and personal stories about breast cancer. So when we learned about what you all were doing, we had to have an even more personal involvement. And so glad to have you guys in the store today and to be able to be donating, and I'm sure Ricky will talk. We have our Pink Natalie, our Breast Cancer Month shoe, where 20% of proceeds go to Touch. And we're thrilled about that. Ricky, I don't know if you've talked about that, but she has a thing for pink shoes. So when we heard that, we had to make a pink shoe for her. And this is the Pink Natalie is the one. So thank you so much for having me.
We want to start with some just basic facts about breast cancer. You know, we talk about breast cancer every week, but in October, we want to kind of start from the beginning, and Dr. Mo's going to give us some great.
When you look at the data surrounding breast cancer, overall survivals, women are living longer with breast cancer, and so much of the information lists in terms of the survival rates. So when you look at all white women, for example, the rate of survival 5 years out from their breast cancer diagnosis, 91%, more than 91% even. When you look at the survival rates between white women and black women, there's some disparities there. And we know that that's a big reason why Ricky started Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. It's why I do the work that I do, and it's why we know that we're so desperately needed in terms of clinical trials. And so it's important for us to kind of keep these stats in mind, because we hear some really dismal pictures about things like triple negative breast cancer, and we know that it is deadly for us. We know that younger women are diagnosed more frequently with triple negative breast cancer, and we know that the mortality is higher, but there is hope on the horizon. And I think it's important to take this break during the month of October, because we're all so busy. We're Zooming, we're doing our walks, we're wearing our capes, we're wearing our pink, to talk about joy and to talk about some fun.
One of my favorite things to do is to wear pink shoes, and I wear them every day in October, and I may have a few more than there are days in October, but it's okay. And these are my favorite ones right now. So we really wanted just to talk about what brings you joy, because at the end of the day, we just want to have fun. I mean, breast cancer sucks. It is not fun. There's nothing fun about it. So we just wanted to talk about things that bring us joy and bring us happiness and bring us peace and fun. And so shoe shopping is one of them. And we have some people in our audience here that are going to hang out with us, and we're going to bring them in to talk about what makes them happy, what brings them joy. So, Mo, what brings you joy?
Oh, boy. So what brings me joy? Right now, wearing these Sarah Flint shoes, I have to show you these shoes because shoes bring me joy, all kinds. Cowboy boots, especially these days. But anybody who knows me knows that I'm probably in a pair of stilettos if I'm not in cowboy boots. But I got to tell you a funny story. I see my patients every 6 months after surgery's over, and we come in and we talk about a lot of really heavy things. How are our scans? How's the exam? Everything. And then I finally stop and I say, okay, what brings you joy? And they just sort of look at me. And they kind of go, huh? I say, well, what brings you joy? Oh, well, you know, my church, I do stuff for this, I do stuff for that, I do stuff for my kid. No. What brings you joy? And many times they don't know. And so we're posing the question, everybody who's watching, everybody in the Facebook, everybody on the chats, we want to know, what brings you joy? Have you stopped and thought about it? And are you actively doing it? Because if breast cancer has taught you nothing, it's that you have the right to pursue that joy, and that your peace is what?
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Your peace is non-negotiable, but that your pleasure is not an option. It is your right.
I was thinking about that when you said it. I get a lot of joy from taking a bath. I take a bath every night. I have 2 kids and a husband, and usually they're not in the bathtub with me. So thank God, it's my one space where I can be alone. Some days I take 2 baths a day. I take one at the end of the day, and I take one later at night when I'm by myself. And it's a time of relaxation. I love my bathtub. I designed it myself. It was the one piece of the home that I got to say, this is the tile I want and this is the faucets I want. And it's just a place to relax and read. I always read in there, and I really enjoy it. And it's just mine.
Funny that you say that, because when my kids are little, now they're grown, but when they were little, I would take a bath at 5:30 in the morning. And that was the only time of the day I could have to myself, right? And eventually they would get in the tub with me. And it became a family affair. But I at least would get from like about 5:30 to 6 by myself, and it was a joyous time when I could just collect myself, and I would literally get up early just to take that bath. So I hear you.
I thought about it. Cooking brings me joy. My kitchen, and I see people nodding in the audience, my kitchen is my sanctuary, right? It's where I get to get all my fresh herbs from my garden, the ones that survived in my garden. I get to, try different recipes, make smoothies. I mean, I can make magic in my head in my kitchen. And we have some people in the audience here on Facebook who've had some really great things to say. And so somebody said a good book and a tasty cappuccino brings them joy. Yes to the bath. I love this one. Mindfulness and good wine. Tennis brings me joy. So we got some more people joining us here. We got some of our breasties here in the audience.
Valenti, who came up from Orlando.
Oh my goodness. Can we get her on here today?
It's amazing to be here to celebrate my 15-year survivorship.
Woo! That brings me joy.
Yes, that's
Wow.
what brings me joy.
Yeah. Wow. 15 years. Wow, girl.
My oncologist told me to do yoga. And it was the hardest thing after having a double mastectomy, after having an oophorectomy, going through chemotherapy,
What's an oophorectomy? Tell me.
having my ovaries removed. She's telling me to do yoga. I was weak from all of the surgeries on my body, all of the trauma to my body. And I would sit in yoga class and just watch them in amaze. The downward dog was so difficult. Everything was so difficult. And I would just sit there and watch and like, oh my God, how can these people do these moves? How can they hold this pose and do this and that? And my doctor told me, she said, just keep coming, you'll get this. She had me come to her office. She did yoga with her staff before the patients came in. Wow. So I was getting free yoga at least 3 times a week, going to classes with her and going to her office. And now I'm a certified yoga teacher, and I can do everything all those people could do back then, and I was just in awe. And
Valenti, you bring up a great point in that we see a lot of statistics surrounding breast cancer and Black breast cancer, which is painted as a disease of socioeconomic status. It's a disease of poverty. It's a disease of poor education and lots of other things that are not necessarily true. Right. And I think it's so important at this time to point out the fact that these are women who maybe they exercise every day. We eat healthy. They're educated. They're nurses. They're professors. It can impact anybody. And when we color it through the lens of poverty, of socioeconomic status, of that disparity, sometimes we lose out on the opportunity to really explore the underlying causes for this disease. And so it's so important because we need people to really reach and find where their joy lies. We know that stress can impact the body in really negative ways, and that the stress that people have been under this year, I can tell you as a breast surgeon, I'm seeing more advanced disease than ever before. The ability of our bodies to process this stress and internalize it and manifest it as illness is very, very real. And so when we're talking about finding your joy, Valencia, you're right. This is a matter of life and death, not just for our breasties, but for everybody. We need people to really explore what makes you happy, and not just happy, but what's going to bring your life fulfillment, what's going to bring your stress level down, and what's going to enable you to live a fuller and a healthier life, because that's what makes your body healthy. When we're under stress, we make mistakes, we manifest with illness. And so that's why we're asking everybody, what's bringing you joy, audience? We need some participation here.
Hi, how are
Come
you
sit
guys?
with us. Can you come closer so
Oh,
you...
I can see.
Okay.
You got it.
This is my daughter, Haley.
Hi,
She's
hi,
on the
hi,
show
hi.
today. What brings you joy, Haley? Something we can talk on camera.
Right? Okay. Good question. Good caveat. What brings me joy?
Switch
Just
over.
in
We can't see your
general.
face, yeah.
In general, things that bring me joy are, I am also a teacher, so my students, seeing them acquire a new skill or learn something new is definitely very joyful. Dancing with my mom,
dance a lot.
yes, we dance a lot. Hanging out with my grandma, every time I get to see that crazy lady over there, always brings me joy. And we're like awkwardly matching today. But yeah, and then obviously I've been thinking so much about equity. Oh, stealing my mother's shoes. That's on the list for sure. And then anytime I'm in the presence of anyone doing more equitable work, that's definitely something that resonates with my family, with my sister in politics and my mom doing all the amazing breast cancer work, and then me in schools. And so I think that just drives all of us a little bit.
So many people said music and dancing brings them joy. I hope you all show up to our dance party every
Every Friday, you know, we dance every Friday at 3 o'clock. We'll put the Zoom in the chat. 15 minutes, 3 songs. My mom is there usually doing her chair dance. Cynthia, our breastie. We're talking about what brings you joy.
Matter of fact, I just did some joyous things yesterday with my granddaughter. Ever since I found out about the sipping paints, I've fallen in love with them. And during COVID, one of the breast cancer organizations were giving classes virtually on paint and sips. So I kept some of the paints and the designs and painted a pink lady yesterday, you know. So yeah, so
that brings you joy.
that brings me joy, painting and sipping wine.
It's a good combination.
My mom is an 88-year-old diva.
And survivor.
And survivor. Scooch over to the camera.
Okay, I was just going to say that I have been through a divorce. I've raised 2 teenage girls. I've been the principal of an elementary school with about 500 kids. But I have never, ever had stress in my life other than worse than when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was very, very blessed. I had a small tumor, and it ended up being not as invasive as we thought. But for the few days, for the month that I went through waiting for tests, it was the worst time in my life. So I do understand any woman, the stress that it brings on. It even gets me now.
Yeah, and she was sick about 15 years before me.
It brings up a really good point, you know, because our lives are stressful enough, right? Just without a diagnosis of breast cancer. And then you add this extra diagnosis of breast cancer. And even if you have what you call, you know, a small or not as invasive or maybe not as bad as other people's, and we minimize, you know, what we go through and the cancer that we have. And there's a lot of guilt for people who have early stage breast cancer, but there's something that changes in your body, right? And something changes in your mind. And all of a sudden, right, Mom, your peace of mind is kind of gone. And so part of finding your joy and getting that back has to do with reclaiming some of that peace and saying really sweet things to yourself, right? Loving yourself. You didn't love yourself before breast cancer. Some of us didn't. And now we have to find that joy and find that love.
That truly hits home. You have to find peace. Yeah. You have to find where you are with it. And all I could think about were these babies, because she was little. I don't even know whether we had Haley or
We
not.
didn't have Haley yet.
Right.
We didn't have Haley. We
We
only had
just-
Amanda. We didn't have
Right,
Haley yet.
but all I could think about was being able to grow up and see them grow up. And the peace and joy in my life is spending time with these children and watching them grow. Shoes help, though.
Well, yeah, she buys shoes for the children. Okay, so.
Can I be one?
I know. Actually, the purchase of the week was the sparkly pink Kelly boots we bought for Belle, the 4-year-old, and Leia, the 2-year-old.
We had a comment from the audience.
Okay.
And I want to read this. And somebody said, I know when I'm getting stressed out, when my cup's getting full, when I start snapping on my husband. And so the question I have for you is, one, how do you know when you're here? How do you know when your cup's getting full? And what do you do to pull yourself back? Like, can we give people some tips to pull themselves back before we start snapping and end up in, marriage and couples therapy and divorce court and all the things? What can we do to pull ourselves back? But how do you know when your cup is full?
If I'm walking home from work or I'm out and about and I'm not noticing anything, I'm not saying hi to anyone, I know I'm just not in the right headspace. As a mantra, there's a pause between the action and the reaction. And then try to take that to say, this is about you. And sometimes I go and take that bath. I'm like, bye guys, I'll make dinner in a few minutes. I'm going to take my bath. But it's hard. It's hard to take that pause sometimes, but it helps.
Oh, well, my filter. Is the word asshole. Sorry. So I learned that from my nurse navigator. When I first got diagnosed, my first meeting with her was, you are so stressed out, Ricky. You have no idea how much stress is in your life, how stressed you are. And I said, I am not stressed. I don't believe in stress. Stress is for wimps. It's a cop-out. What am I going to do, not feed the kid, not go to work? I yelled at her. And I said, well, how do I know I'm not stressed out? How do I know I'm stressed? She said, well, how many times a day do you think or say the word asshole? And I was like, ooh. And I didn't really say it out loud, but in my head, I called a lot of people that word with adjectives all day long. And so I realized that I had to change how I thought about those people, right? Because I learned that they were cancers. So not only the cancer on my boobs, but some of them had to go.
I too had to learn how to do that. You have to
stop.
find a way to take care of yourself. You have to find that peace. And you have to know when to walk away.
it's okay.
I was just reading yesterday a piece about quitters. And, I always thought that a quitter, you don't want to be a quitter. But there's something very healthy about knowing when it's time to be the quitter. Wow. Okay? Boy. And this is very important to learn. When you've been a breast cancer victim, you have to learn when to be the quitter and how to take care of yourself.
And it's not really quitting, it's stopping. I hate to say no to anything. It's always how. So it's not saying no, it's not quitting. It's saying, how can I do this differently? How can I manage this differently? Or who can I get to help me with this? Because we're all such control freaks. We don't ask for help. We just let it, we just suck it up.
Point. There's so many pearls here, right? You have to know when to quit versus this conversation about fight. Maybe there's something to the peace in letting things go, right? And not resisting things. And, when we talk to survivors about the blessing and letting your family show up for you, right? When we take everything on, we rob our families of the opportunity to be there and to show up for us sometimes in ways that they might really want to, in ways that can bring our families together. Yeah. And so sometimes it looks like saying, you know what, I'm not going to take everything on. And, I'm going to teach my family how to nurture and how to show up and how to love us. Because when we don't do that, we don't set those good examples, our family can't love us in the ways that we need. And I'll give you a prime example. I had a patient who had changed her diet. She got diagnosed with breast cancer, 41st mammogram, and everybody kept bringing her pans of lasagna and mashed potatoes and all this heavy food. And she says, I just want to drink my smoothies and eat my salads. And they didn't show up for me in the ways that I needed them to. Yeah. And I said, well, did you talk to them about it? She said, eventually I did. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. She said, but I still got a freezer full of food 6 months later that I never even ate. And all I needed was somebody to take the kids for a couple of hours. And so we
we
have
don't
to
ask for help.
we have
We
to
don't ask for
teach
help.
our families how to show up for us, And I know for me, when my cup is getting full is when I'm not hungry. When I don't eat anymore, I'm just not hungry. I'm too busy. I'm like, you know what? Because I love to cook. Even if it's just a little salad and fresh herbs or a little smoothie or something fun and put something in it. And, like I love the creativity of the kitchen. And when I walk past my kitchen and the lights off, repeatedly, night after night after night, my cup's getting full. I think in all families, like there's certain things and there's certain shames and things that we don't necessarily talk about, maybe because we didn't learn about, like how to do a breast exam. I can't tell you the number of women who, when I sit down and ask them, I say, has anybody ever taught you how to do a breast exam? And they say, well, no. And so you can't teach what you didn't learn, right?
I so admire the younger generations. I feel like they're so much more willing to talk about things than I ever was. And there is a very cute baby coming, which is
This is what brings me joy.
oh my
That's bringing me
goodness.
joy,
It's
right?
bringing me joy too.
This is Heart.
So much joy.
This is Heart, my youngest grandbaby.
I have, again, 15 and 17-year-old daughters. My 15-year-old daughter the other day asked me, she said, Mom, were you ever on birth control? And first I was like, why is she asking? But I stayed really calm. And I was like, I never could have asked my mom that at 15. Never in 1,000 years. I would have asked a friend or asked someone else.
Right.
And so I think I stayed really cool. I tried to. But I was really proud of her for asking. I was like, I told her later, I was really proud because when I was raised,
Yeah.
I'm from Baltimore, and my mom always said, in Baltimore, we don't talk about things outside the family.
That's right.
And so I just would never have asked her or anyone else. I would have just struggled or Googled it, I guess, if I had Google.
This conversation is so important because I can remember when I first got diagnosed with breast cancer, the family had a discussion, but it wasn't with me, it was amongst themselves. And I can remember my niece, she's about 14 now, but she was about, it's been a while for me now, about almost 5 years. She was about 10 years old at the time, and she said, Auntie, you have, and I said, it's okay. You can say it. You can say the word. It's okay. You don't have to hush. You don't have to whisper it. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. And even then, still the stigma of not being able to discuss, the issues that go around and the managing of a diagnosis of cancer is still sort of taboo in the family. Right. And so it's interesting because my grandmother passed away from metastatic breast and ovarian cancer. And to this day, I still ask questions, and they go unanswered about what type it was, what year was she diagnosed, and all these things are very important, especially when it comes to hereditary health. So the conversation that you guys are having here tonight is so important. I'm so glad to be a part of it.
I'm so glad you came. So this is the mother of Heart, my older daughter. And one of the things that brings me joy is when she asks me for help.
Same questions for you. What brings you joy?
Hang out with your little sister.
It's true. Yeah, bringing me joy is just family time. I think it's all of us get really caught up in work all the time and, forget why we're doing the thing that we're doing. And it is just spending time with my mom. It's a blessing to have my grandma still alive and very much a part of our lives. Obviously, it's lovely to have my little sister here too.
And this is her third baby. She
Yes.
has two other bigger ones.
It's
than
true.
her, right?
So yeah, they keep me on my toes, give me many moments to laugh about. They troll me with Daniel Tiger songs and lock me out of the house sometimes and eat all of the cookies that we try to make together. And spending the time with the family is really important.
So how do you know when your cup is full?
That is such a good question. I don't know that I have figured that out yet, as evidenced by the fact that I continue to have children. But I might have recently reached my limit. This is actually a funny story and way too much information. But the other day I was going to the bathroom and nursing at the same time, and I was I have really hit the limit in all things. This is it. And my husband's we can have more children. And I was I'm literally sitting on the toilet nursing a child. We cannot have any more children. So that would be, a clear moment for me.
I want to start to wrap this up by summarizing some of the stuff that we're hearing, because we're talking about what's bringing you joy and doing more of it, right? Incorporating the things that make us smile, the things that bring us peace. And we've had everything from exercise, from yoga, cooking, painting, wine, dancing, going out with friends, meditating, spending time with family, and whatever it is that brings you joy, we want to encourage you to do more of it and to actually put it in your calendar. How about you in 2022, 2021, and the remainder of 2021 and into 2022? What if you penciled in your joy, just JOY, in your planner, in your calendar, and carved out time for that in the midst of all the things that you're doing and all the shoes that you're selling and all the world that you are saving, right? All the surgeries I'm surgerizing. Just taking a few minutes to just, even if it's, I tell my patients, listen, I don't care if it's just sitting on a park bench blowing bubbles and watching people pass by. When I see you in 6 months, I'm going to ask you again, what brings you joy? And so when we see you again, we're going to do this show again in 6 months, and we're going to ask you, what brings you joy, and have you been doing it? And so we want to hear from everybody.
You know, when we come back to you, you could also be wearing a pair of Sarah Flint shoes. Right?
Love that too. This is a great everyday shoe. This is a good evening shoe. This is a happy hour shoe. This is a painting shoe, night out in town with your girl's shoe. This is a great dancing shoe. So we want you to go to Sarah Flint. Can you go to sarahflint.com?
You can,
And purchase
absolutely.
these shoes, because what goes to Touch BBCA?
Yep, 20% of proceeds go to Touch, and we are so happy to be able to be with you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be in your house. You know where to reach us, touchbbca.org. All of our social media is at touchbbca, at Ricky Dove, and thank you for joining us. We have, you know, we're doing the show not only on Wednesday nights during October, Touchtober, we also are doing Sunday afternoons at 3.
And as always, we hope this has been relatable and reliable and real. It's what we set out to do every Wednesday night on blackdoctor.org. So we are so thankful that you guys joined us today, and thankful that you guys joined us today here at Sarah Flint. I wish you could see all these gorgeous faces. And the only thing left to say is the doctor is in. Breasty love.